welcome to the philosophy department, Loyola philosophy department open house. I mean, I wish we were in the house and not, I wish we were in the department. Our department's not bad to hang around. So it would have been more fun to have you guys in our agora, this meeting area we have with snacks and whatnot. But we can try to make this feel hospitable enough. We give it a try, right? Okay. Let me tell you my very complex plan. Okay, first of all, I'm Dan Speak. I'm a professor in the department, and I'm the graduate director presently. So in theory, I'm supposed to have answers to your questions, but I'm also a philosopher. So, you might ask them and I'll parse it into meaninglessness and not make any progress on it. That's one of the possibilities we just have to stay open to, but I will try. And then we have with us my guest in my screen, he's to my left. That's Josh Dolan. You want to wave, Josh? There's Josh. And Josh is one of our recent former MA students who's now kicking ass and taking names at UC Irvine PhD program. And so I brought Josh in to have a little conversation with him and see if that will help you guys with any questions that you guys might have about the program, seeing it from Josh's point of view. So that's the plan, and then to open the floor to you guys and see if there's anything you guys need specifics on. How's that sounding? Is that okay? Okay. Do I need to meet you guys though first? So can I get a little scoop on, obviously, Josh, I'm going to let you have a little scoop. So what's your deal? Have I already said everything interesting about you?
Yes.
No, not everything interesting. There's got to be one more interesting thing about you I didn't say.
Yeah. So I went to LMU from 2016 to 2018.
Has it been almost 4 years?
Yeah, I'm wrapping up my fourth year at UCI.
I guess that's right.
Yeah. And so I didn't take a year off after that. I applied and went straight from LMU to UC Irvine. So yeah, I didn't take a year off or anything like that. I went to LMU to study with Jason Bear and Dan Speak, and
I hear that guy's a douche.
Which one?
The Speak guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Bear is okay. Bear is all right. What I hear.
Right. And it just happened that the area of specialization I was interested in was virtue epistemology, and just so happened that a virtue epistemologist went from the University of Edinburgh to UC Irvine as I was applying, and so that became a very attractive option for me, because not only was I not moving away from home, but moving closer to some family members, which is just something can't be taken for granted. And so here I am. That's the short of it.
That worked out great, actually. The fact that Duncan Pritchard came to Irvine at the time he did, that was nearly perfect.
Yeah, really was. Yeah.
Okay, that's Josh. I'm just gonna go from my vision like this. I don't know if that means anything to you, but David, how about you? What's your deal, man?
Hi, I'm David, as the name says.
Mm-hmm.
I received my bachelor's in philosophy at Cal Poly in spring of 2021.
Nice.
Since then, I've been working and traveling and having some time away from school. I definitely miss it, and I want to go back.
Okay, so that's a good way for that little time to work, is for you to genuinely miss it, right, and want to go back. That's a good sign.
Yeah, and in terms of research interests, I like existentialism, phenomenology, and social and political philosophy.
Nice. Okay, good. That sounds good. Will, how about you? What's your deal?
I went to Cal Poly as well.
Nice.
I graduated in spring of 2019. And
you guys know each other at all or no?
I recognize him, but he's like a little bit older than me.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, a couple years older.
Yeah.
Do we have a seminar on Kant together by chance?
With Paul Miklowitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we did.
Hey,
Okay, yeah, I remember you from that.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, in my time since, I traveled for about a year in Europe during the pandemic, and then I've been back. I've been working, and I've also been missing philosophy and continuing to read during this time. And yeah, I've been thinking about coming back in the last 2 or 3 years, and now I want to take the plunge and get back into it. So
Love it. Okay. Sounds good. Good. How about you, Kellen?
Okay, of course, Kellen. It's actually been a while. I actually have 2 bachelor's degrees, one from California Lutheran University in religion that I got in 2005, and one in history. I currently work at CSU Channel Islands, and I got a history degree there in 2016, and I still currently work there. I've actually been here for 16 years, right after school, getting out of graduating from Cal Lutheran. I was able to get, and I'm just an analyst now, but love religion and all that.
Just an analyst.
I know.
Come on.
And so I'm really interested in philosophy. I mean, getting my degree in religion, and my capstone was actually faith and reason, and it did really get me interested in that field. So I'm finally looking into that.
Love it.
now.
Love it. Good to have you in here. Okay, Kyle, what's your story?
Hi, I'm Kyle. I currently am pursuing my BA at Cal State Northridge. I'll be graduating this spring, so I actually have my class of 2022
Oh,
shirt.
nice. Yes.
Got
Good. Representing.
it prematurely. But
Hey, Kyle, I went to Cal State Northridge too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Josh is a
graduate.
yeah.
Yeah, I graduated there 2015.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have Julie, you?
Yep.
And,
I love Julie. Julie Yu, Tim Black, Rob Gresses, Abel Franco. They're great.
Those are my boys and girls right there.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I'm at Cal State Northridge right now. I'll be out of there this spring. I don't want to take any time off. I'm ready to jump into my MA. I can't even think about taking time off. I'm just going straight into it. But like I said before, my project here is working on Hegel. So
Okay.
but specifically I'm working on Hegel's notion of God. So that's where I'm trying to go, his notion of Christianity. So that's kind of my main focus right now. I'm writing a whole kind of thing for this research seminar that I'm doing right now. So I'm writing a whole thing on that. So yeah,
Nice.
I can't wait to look forward to, to LMU and what, I can bring to the table and what they can help me with.
Nice.
So
Nice. And those are issues, both Hegel and God are issues that are taken seriously, both separately and together at LMU. So
Yeah.
it's be a good fit for some of those things.
right on.
Okay, so here's my strategy is about to unfold. I'm gonna just ask Josh some questions, and I don't know. I sent Josh the questions I'd probably ask him, but I didn't ask him to tell me what he was gonna say. So he could say anything, David. I mean, it could be. It's totally unpredictable. It's exciting, and maybe he's gonna undermine me completely. Like, I'm trying to represent this program as attractive, and like Josh is just going to completely blow this out of the water. So let's see where it goes. We're all just waiting with bated breath here, Josh. Okay. So here's my first question to you, Josh.
Really quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there another person that joined us?
Emily's actually she's kind of our boss of running things.
Oh,
There she is.
okay. Hi.
Hi everyone, I'm from graduate admissions.
She doesn't really like any of you. She just tries to look friendly and then just make sure things are going okay. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I already have my master's. I don't need another one.
Yeah, you don't need another master's degree. That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
And-
Cool.
but
Just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't leaving anybody out. That's right.
Yeah.
But Emily, if anybody else wants to join, I'll seed it here, right, and be able to let them in.
Yes, and I can too. So
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, so Josh, here's my first question.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, one thing that people will be interested in if they're coming to a graduate program is there a community? Am I coming into this? Am I going to be alone? Am I going to have to sort of build a community from scratch? Is there anything there to build on? So my first question is like about your experience of communal life in the program.
Yeah, that is a good question. So I think that I think there was a pretty strong sense of community at LMU, at least in my experience. Of course, you know, when you get to graduate level, there's a lot of you know, encouragement around DIY, you know. You know, it's time to do it yourself, you know, and that's good. So nobody's going to sort of, you know, hold your hand, introduce, make you like be in community, that sort of thing. But if you're open to it, yeah, I definitely think so. And I guess I would say two things about that. One is at least the faculty members that I found myself spending the most time with or drawn to seems to have you know, pretty strong ties amongst themselves. Yeah, I would even call them friends. And that made one sort of feel like one was coming into a department that wasn't just a hallway with a bunch of doors leading to these isolated individuals, but rather a sense of community amongst the faculty. Even if there were clusters of them, still it was there, and it was felt. Another thing I'd say is just about the students. You know, when you're an undergrad, I take courses during the day, sometimes at night, but at LMU, all the grad courses are at night, and you know, you're working all day to, or maybe you have a job, or you're working at your job or not, but you're working toward preparation for a meeting that night. And then you meet and you have this, you know, 3-hour conversation doing philosophy together, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime, and if you don't really have the energy to go home and open up your laptop and continue writing, but here you are standing around with a bunch of people that are into philosophy, and it's just quite natural. I mean, you're in LA for one thing, and it's just quite natural to either walk around the campus that has beautiful views or walk to a restaurant nearby and talk about the seminar, talk about each other's papers. And that was my experience. You know, a lot of walking and talking and just sort of being together and feeling like, you know, I can't speak for the people that will be, you know, second years as you come in as first years, but just sort of getting a sense that, especially with my cohort, that we were sort of in it together. And yeah, did
you ever do the you bowled?
Yeah, I bowled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to set that up a little bit. So how badly did I kick your ass in bowling?
Well, not so badly, because we weren't bowling against each other.
Well,
directly. So
not directly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's true. That's true. Anybody would, though. So it's not saying that much. I bowl like a 90, so.
Okay. There is a little graduate student versus faculty bowling competition that we typically do once during the semester. and the faculty have taken some pride in being able to hold their own against the students for a good while. There was a little blip in the story this year that the faculty lost, but I wasn't there. So I think that's a relevant factor.
That's
all
why.
I know.
Yeah.
And now I love that Kyle has a question about this. This is great.
How bad did you kick his ass? Tell us. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, that's okay. Good. Oh, that's a great lead in. Yes,
That's all I'm focusing on. No,
at least 30 pins. I would say that much. But yeah,
what was like your like area of focus during your graduate work?
Yeah, good question. So I went there to focus on virtue epistemology, and that was sort of, so as an undergrad, I had done a lot, for that time. I focused mainly on philosophy of religion and epistemology. And I thought it would be great to do an MA program where let me take a step back. So after CSUN, Cal State Northridge, I felt like I didn't want to apply to a PhD program yet. I just didn't feel ready. I just didn't feel like I didn't have an idea for a dissertation by any means. And I felt like I just needed to immerse myself in something instead of taking a bunch of general courses and filling certain requirements. I wanted to spend 2 years, which of course you do in an MA program as well, but on a deeper level, and you get to just spend more time thinking on I guess I want to say with a certain expectation that you are writing at a higher caliber and thinking at a higher caliber. And I wanted to do that for a while before I even thought of what a dissertation project might be. And so, yeah, I was thinking about, I want to do epistemology. I want to do epistemology with heart. That was the way I was thinking of it. And I found this book. Turns out it turns out I loved it. And turns out the author of the book was a professor at LMU. And so that's why I applied there. But yeah, my focus was.
You had already found Jason before. You found Jason's work before you came.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I mean, I knew you were interested in virtue epistemology antecedently, but I didn't know that you had specifically found, was it his book, the Inquiring Minds book?
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me follow that up, Josh, because the general question I wanted to ask you along these lines was, I mean, people come into a graduate program with different sort of stages with respect to their philosophical and professional goals, right? You had a fairly clear picture, but the question I want to ask is how much support you felt like you got for the distinctive philosophical and professional goals that you came in with.
Yeah, I think that had I just come in because I was just excited to do philosophy generally and didn't have virtue epistemology in mind or anything like that, I think I still would have been very nicely prepared just because of the menu of courses that were offered and the variety of professors at LMU just kind of opens you up to a number of avenues in philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it would have, and I'll say more about how I figured out my dissertation project while I was at LMU later. But yeah, I think it's just, it gives you opportunity to sit for 16 weeks on a subject and write extensively, 20-page paper on it, and allows you to think, man, could I write a book on this? Could I have a career based on this sort of stuff? Or could I see myself thinking about this for years to come? And sometimes the answer is yes, just by taking those courses and getting the kind of the kind of feedback and challenge and support from the professors in the program. Yeah. So yeah, it's but I think that, you know, I had just a general direction too, I should say. You know, it was just virtue epistemology. That's more specific than epistemology. But still was pretty general. And by having that kind of, you know, intimate connection with the professor there, spent a lot of time, I think really refined not just my skills and stuff, but also my interests. Helped categorize, helped me to see where in this discipline I might have some things to say. Yeah.
Is there I mean, one of the things, of course, that people will want to know something about is, you know, what are the actual concrete forms of support that a person gets, you know, when they're in a program like this. When you think back about starting the program to finishing the program and ending up in a very good PhD program, can you think about what were the concrete forms of support that got you to those things, got you through those processes?
Yeah. I really think it was availability of the professors. So being able to have extensive conversations with Jason, you, even people that weren't my letter writers, like Martin, Nemoyanu. I'm just the sort of person that I feel like I think and write slowly, and so I need to be very prepared. And so, you know, I have conversations over and over and over again about how this is going to work and how I might make this happen, how I might actually be able to get into a PhD program. And I think just the, you know, Jason's willingness to read my writing sample 12 times.
Do you think it came out 12 times?
I don't know, but I don't think I'm exaggerating that much.
Okay.
Quite a lot, yeah. Just, you know, edited the bejesus out of it, and same with my personal statement, though that didn't go through as many drafts. And yeah, I guess the concrete support would just be the availability of my advisors at LMU to answer whatever question that came to my mind as with respect to you know, what are these philosophers like that I'm going to go sign up to work with for 5 to 7 years? Yeah, who are these people? Yeah. What are they like? Is it a friendly department? Do you
Which
know?
is different from what it looks like in the journal article that you read or whatever.
Yeah. As it so happens, they're human beings, and you know, some are good, some are
barely human beings. But
well, they're a kind of human, and yeah.
Let me get crass though, Josh.
Sure.
I mean, you presented at conferences, didn't you, when you were a graduate student?
While I was at LMU?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you get any funding to do that?
Oh, that kind of support.
Well, I'm being crass now.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Okay. So those sorts of things. Yes, that stuff too.
I don't know. People probably want to know that, right? Do you guys want to know that if you were presenting at a conference, for example, you can be funded from us to go travel to the conference and to go present? That's an attractive thing to have, right?
That is an attractive thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So that's true. So I was working on a paper. My advisor, Jason Bear, was interested in a way to extend the paper in a way that kind of went beyond what I was writing, but was very related to it. And so it turned out that the two of us co-presented the paper at APA, American Philosophical Association.
Philosophical Association. We're not messing around, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so it was it wasn't a graduate, conference. It was a professional philosophy conference, and I think that really, helped. It looked good on my my application, and yeah, I was, it just happened to be in San Diego that year, and yeah, took care of my gas mileage, my my hotel affair, and yeah, I was really grateful. I have to be honest, it kind of made me feel less unimportant.
That is a philosopher's way. He can't quite say it made me feel important. Did you pick that up?
I was about to say that was like, it wasn't positive. It was like the negative.
Not negative.
Yeah. Less unimportant. Right. Exactly.
Or the negation of negation. There.
Exactly. Yeah. He's accepting double negation here. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But Josh, how many graduate PhD programs did you end up applying to when you finished? Do you remember?
I do. So here's the thing. I had my heart set on 4 universities, and I wanted to apply only to the universities that I thought I want to go there. My advisor though said, try to get some, apply to 3 more places that are a reach, and just to see what happens. And so I ended up getting into the 4 that I wanted to get into, but rejected to those other 3. So yeah.
Interesting.
That's how it worked.
So you ended up applying to 7 places.
7 places. Yeah.
And you got accepted at 4.
At 4. Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio. Did you pay for those applications?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Okay, you shouldn't have.
Sound unappreciative if I didn't.
You shouldn't have if you did, because we do pay for your applications to PhD programs within a reasonable number, right? I mean, if Kellen tells me she wants to apply to 35 places, we're gonna have a conversation. But 7, 10, we'll pay your application fees for that. That's not nothing, right?
That's true. I think I remember now. I think it was paid for. That's right.
Mean, I just might have been dumb enough to forget and then didn't put in your bills, but
maybe. But I think I remember now giving some kind of document to Miss Dolan,
right?
And she took care of it. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, Alexis is our goddess in the administrative goddess who handles such things.
Yes.
So, okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me give you a couple more questions, then we'll see what the crowd is interested in. I was gonna say peanut gallery, but then I don't know, that's probably the wrong way to go. So I don't know if you picked it up, Josh, when people went around and they were talking about their interests, it's varied, right?
Yeah.
And you came in with a pretty clear focus. It's pretty clearly focused on a certain set of analytic issues, but this department purports to pride itself on a certain kind of philosophical pluralism, right? I mean, we've got analytic philosophers, we've got continental philosophers, we've got historians of philosophy, we've got non-Western philosophers, and that's supposed to be something we care about. What do you think? Does that come through? Did being in a pluralistic department, even though you've ended up focusing in on some analytic issues in epistemology, did the pluralism make any difference for you?
Yeah. So first thing I would say it was definitely felt. It's not something that is advertised and then you get there, it's not actually true. No, it is true. I took not just Plato and Aristotle, but Kierkegaard. I took Aquinas. I took a course on Chinese philosophy. Chinese philosophy
course. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Chinese philosophy. And there were other courses offered that I was bummed that I couldn't take it, but like Heidegger and actually took a course on Kierkegaard, if I didn't say that already.
You did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest value though is that it really sharpens you or refines you, right? Because you can't walk into, if everyone was Thomists, be able to do some good philosophy, get a lot of arguing done, sure, but a lot of assumptions probably wouldn't be thrown into question, or at least that's possible, very likely. Whereas when you're trying to make sense of your philosophical point of view or your philosophical method with people who don't see it that way or don't approach it that way even, then you're sort of forced to think about a bit more about who you are as a philosopher, why it is you take the approach you do, and get a bit clearer, even if you don't change those assumptions, get better at articulating those assumptions.
Nice.
So yeah, I think the pluralism is felt and it's valuable.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that from you, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my last question for you then. You know, I said it in a humorous way, you're kicking ass and taking names at UCI, but it's true. You're doing quite well. You've got a number of things published. Your dissertation is looking promising, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the question: how well prepared? How much did your LMU MA contribute to your being prepared to do good work at the doctoral level?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, maybe I can answer that with respect to publications and dissertation. So, the paper that I co-presented with Jason Baer at the APA is about to turn into a publication. It's about to be a chapter in a book on endurance, the virtue of endurance, published with Oxford University Press. And
let's just throw that out there. OUP, Oxford University Press.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm throwing that back at LMU, like to say like that's cool, you know.
Yeah.
Not to pat myself on the back, but yeah, it was,
but if your shoulder gets in the way while you're trying to pat us on the back, that's okay.
I suppose that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's that. So obviously, just being there, working through this independent study, which, you know, that's another thing to say about LMU, is that whenever I asked to do an independent study with someone, they were on board. So I got to just do a whole course where I just focused on a paper that I wanted to write, which is really rewarding, very beneficial. Highly recommend it for those interested in, you know, writing a writing sample, you know, to get into a PhD program. But yeah, that whole thing helped me with my writing sample, helped me get into the APA, and then that turned into a publication, and so that was really great, and that all started at LMU. The other thing was that when many of the courses that I took at LMU, the professor would get us in touch with the classics germane to the seminar, but also give us cutting edge, pre-published manuscripts to read. So we're reading whole book manuscripts that aren't published yet, that other philosophers are working on, or that the professor, him or herself, is working on. And the reason why I mentioned that is you get to see work in progress, for one thing, from a professional philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
And for another thing, you get to have a little head start on something that's about to go into the literature. And so you get to be prepared with each course you take. There's a good chance that you're going to be in a position to be familiar with relevant literature and even stuff that's not out yet. And that prepares you to be able to have something to say, either in terms of a paper that you might turn into a publication, or a strong writing sample, or a dissertation project. And that's what happened with me my last semester at LMU. Jason Baird decided to do something on vice epistemology. He was reading a manuscript, Qasim Qassam's manuscript, called Vices of the Mind. And I thought, I love this. I disagree with everything this person is saying. And I've got a dissertation project right here. And so before I left LMU, I had my dissertation project figured out. I didn't have
pretty unusual. That's by the way, I don't think that's a hard, I don't want to treat you like you're normative in that, right? Like that's a pretty unusual thing. When I finished my MA, I was nowhere near a dissertation topic, just FYI, everybody, right? But that's a testimony to your experience for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me compare it. So that was me.
Yeah.
I'm that's just part of my personality too. But for others who, I guess I want to say, so there was a big cohort getting into UCI. So it was me and 15 others that got into UCI. And
they took 15 your year. Wow.
Yeah. So sorry. That was because there was some things that happened where they didn't have a lot the year prior, and then they also hired a bunch of faculty, and so they needed to bring in some people, quite a few people. Anyway, yeah. So where was I going with that? Oh, about half of us, or maybe closer to a third of it. No, about half of us got an MA in philosophy first. And I will say that, and these are, MAs from top ranked philosophy MA programs. I'm talking about my peers now. And I felt, even though these people had a higher degree of native intelligence than I was no less prepared. Just as prepared as they are to do their dissertation, to try to start publishing, etc. And the people that came in without it, I don't mean, I'm not going to name names. I don't mean to knock anybody or anything, but they're struggling. They're fourth years and they're still like not at all confident that they've got to start writing a dissertation pretty soon.
That's interesting.
That's just what I can say about me and my department.
So your takeaway is that you think that the MA first was very, very important for your growth now into your PhD.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Both in terms of being able to write a paper with any hope of publication, and in terms of having a dissertation project that's worthwhile and manageable and not a thorn in your advisor's craw. Is that the expression?
So sure. I like
thought you were going to say crotch, but
yeah, that's right. Claw, craw, right.
Yeah, neither of those.
Yeah.
A thorn in neither of those places.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We are definitely turning to opening the floor to you guys for anything. Some of the stuff that Josh and I've been talking about are kind of, they're conceptual and about but you might have some, we keep on that front. If you've got questions that are more just about mechanics or what have you, the door is wide open. So go ahead, Kellen.
I'm just curious, just because I really don't have a lot of experience with philosophy. And so coming from like religion and history, I know that like it does for religion, I've heard of lots of different terms being said here. So I'm interested of how a program like this would work for someone who's like, are there prereqs, that I need to probably get out of the way before coming in? I'm kind of curious about, because when I tried to look on the website, there's not a lot that shows. Basically, I'm going to say the website didn't show me anything.
Don't worry about that. We're trying to do a little better on that, Kellen, but fair enough. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just more of like, I really wanted to know like the variety of courses that Josh was talking about, because I'll admit I've also been interested. There's in the mythological studies that they have at Pacifica, but I'm also just fascinated by all the different types of I guess you could say, religions and stuff, but I'm also very interested in understanding, looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I want that philosophical understanding.
Good. Here's what I can say, Kellen. We don't, in general, we don't require that folks who are entering our program have done an undergraduate degree in philosophy. That's for sure. And we're often looking, but we are interested in people who want to study philosophy, right? And we think are capable of doing that. And people can show us that, especially in their writing sample. So you do want your writing sample to be something that focuses on some kind of argumentative way. You want to be arguing for something. You want to be showing that you have the capacity to defend a thesis, and better if the thesis is something in the domain of philosophy. But if it can't be done, you can still work around that to some degree. Partly because one of the things, I mean, there's a way in which Josh is there's a kind of a paradigm of the student who there are two kinds of students that I think LMU, the MA program, is especially great for. One kind of student is the kind of student who, and this is kind of like Josh, and I was like this myself as an undergrad, we had fine undergraduate degrees, but they weren't ready. We were not ready to do first-rate philosophical work. So we needed the MA to get us up to speed for the PhD level. And I think LMU is excellent for such students. The other one is people who just have a love for philosophy and they just want to learn a bunch of shit about philosophy and just kind of smorgasbord the whole thing, right? But for both of those cases, we can be very helpful to people. Because we're committed to making sure that people can succeed, what we're looking for in the application is evidence that you're going to be able, you don't have to be able to be a great philosophical writer right now, but we do have to see evidence that we think with our help, we can make you into a very good philosophical writer. So that's what we'll be looking for in your application. As far as, just so that you know, for classes, it might help to think of it like this. We do kind of have, we sort of envision ourselves as having, think of this as 4 signature strengths of our department that we're always offering classes in. One of those is in the history of philosophy. So there'll always be a history of philosophy course, usually more than one. So like in the fall, there'll be a Plato course. So just to focus just on Plato, probably the same course you took, Josh. Did you have Eric Pearl?
No, I took it with Morelli.
Oh, Mark was teaching Plato then. Oh, okay, yeah. So usually a history course. Then there's another one of our foci is contemporary continental philosophy. So there'll be some course for those of you who are interested in existentialism. I heard some phenomenology, the post-Hegelian but Hegelian stuff. That's a central focus. Then there's a focus on Catholic thought. So there'll be a course on phenomenology offered in the fall, but I think Professor Roniger is focusing on Catholic phenomenology in particular. And then there's a focus on virtue and responsibility. So philosophy having to do with whether it's intellectual or moral virtues, or philosophy having to do with the nature of responsibility and freedom, that especially as it's related to issues about faith and reason, that's another core strength. And so almost always, like I'm teaching a course in the fall on faith in philosophy, what faith is and how it's related to the philosophical enterprise. So that gives you a sense of the kind of core things that we're sort of regularly offering. Is that helping at all, Kellen? Okay. Okay, then David, I saw your hand. Did we lose David? He looks like he's kind of frozen. Is that me? It's him, right? It's not me.
No, he's definitely frozen.
Okay, yeah, okay. Maybe we'll get him. Maybe we'll get him back. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah. So, kind of going off what Kellen said, I'm kind of in the same boat that I kind of want to know, because my kind of focus is continental philosophy as well. I'm very much interested in contemporary post-Hegelian, but I'm definitely interested in like Kant, Hegel, Fichte, Schelling, just all those German romantics. But I'm also interested in Catholic studies as well. So do you guys offer stuffs in that German Romantic period?
It actually would be very hard for me, Kyle, to imagine a better place for you. I'm not just saying that because I'm here giving this pitch, but I mean, you know, the combination is unusual and powerful. There's David, he's back. Good. So, you know, we've got a Kant scholar, we've got, but I don't know if you've, our new scholar, Marcella, is awesome. Marcella is an expert on, like, Schelling is kind of her go-to person, but she's always working to bring like the Kantian stuff into conversation with the 20th century Catholic thought more generally.
That's awesome.
And so she's teaching next spring, so not in the fall, but if you came in the fall, then in the spring, she's teaching a late Schelling course, which would be awesome because you'd have Kant in the fall and then late Schelling in the spring. And she's thinking about that from a distinctively Catholic perspective oftentimes. So it would sort of be a pretty bitchin' combination for you. That's a kind of a mood across our department. So whether Brian Traynor, who does contemporary Continental stuff, is often having those figures in conversation with Catholic thought, and same with Brad Stone, who teaches Foucault, especially, and Heidegger. And our recent hire in Heidegger, Ian Moore, who's awesome, he draws more connections to Lutheran thinkers, but there's still a kind of really fun connection between those Lutherans and Catholic thought. So it would actually be hard for me to imagine a better fit for you in that regard, Kyle. That doesn't mean you should come here. You might be other places that are better in other respects, but on that front, it's pretty bitchin'.
No, that's wonderful, because I went up to Santa Barbara. This is a few months ago, and I saw Bishop Barron give.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, he gave the mass at Poor Claris Chapel up in Santa Barbara, right around the corner from the mission. And I was just talking to him. I told him, I was like, you know, I applied to LMU. Immediately, he's like asking me about, like, he's such a nice guy. He's like,
he seems like a great guy. Yeah, right.
He's just so wonderful. And
he must be friends with Chris Kazor, I'm guessing.
Well, that's what he said. He said, oh, have you, gotten in touch with Kazor? And I was like, oh, no. And he was like, wonderful guy. He's like, you should shoot him an email. He would love to hear from you. Tell him, like, I dropped his name and everything. So I have the connection now, so.
Chris is going to be offering an Aquinas Seminar. I forget if it's the fall or the spring, but this year.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just went on a retreat to Texas through the Thomistic Institute, and that was wonderful. So
yeah, we got a lot of folks with their sort of finger in the Thomistic Institute stuff too. So yeah.
Does LMU have a chapter?
I should know the answer to that question, but I don't off the top of my head.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, it feels like if not, I don't know why. Yeah, with not just with Chris Kazor around, but also Catherine Peters, who's our new medievalist, and Martin Nemoanu, who works on early modern, but is very interested in the way Thomism gets picked up in the modern period. So it would be, if we're not, I don't know why we're not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that hard to get a chapter.
Just sign up for it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So next semester, we can.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. There you go. Yeah. David, we got you back. You okay?
Yeah, my internet cut out like exactly when I was going to ask a question. So that's great.
But I'll just say this: it did cut out in a way that left you looking good, right? Like I feel like whenever I cut out. It's always like that, but yours was perfectly like you look great. You look great.
Thank you.
What was that question?
Yeah, I have a couple. So I was wondering, with the philosophy teaching fellowships and like the teaching orientation, if you go from being like a TA in a course, so you're assisting, and then go on to teach your own course where you determine the syllabus and so on.
Nice. It's in the ideal case, and this is still in a little bit of transition because of some things about the course scheduling at LMU. In the ideal case, it's kind of a midway between that. So the way it works is in the spring. So suppose you came in the fall. Let's just imagine you came in the fall. In the spring, then you would, if you wanted to be one of the teaching fellows, then you have to take our teaching orientation practicum course. It's a full seminar, and it's focused around the content that you will be teaching in the course that you have. but it's aimed at a particular course. That is, we've developed a course in critical thinking that, this is new to you, Josh. You won't be familiar with this, but there's a course that the psychology department needs specifically in critical thinking for their majors. And we will offer that, and our teaching fellows will teach that course, and they'll have that. We'll have that in mind when you do the teaching practicum course. So basically, we'll be trying to train you on how to teach that critical thinking course excellently. So you'll be getting the hands-on for that, and then the course you teach the course in the fall, and we would have you'd be overseeing you doing it. It'd be your course, but pretty much our syllabus, and the training you got. You'll have some, variation, will be up to you, but mostly the focus of the course is a thing that we would be giving you the content for.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You see what I mean? How it's kind of part way. You don't have.
Yeah, it is.
You don't have to build a course from scratch, though. You'll think about that, but your hand isn't going to be held the whole way through either.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then the other question I had was for both of you. Like Josh, you mentioned that you were able to have some sort of, research, and then that led to a presentation, which led to a publication. Are there any kind of formalized routes for having research done with a faculty member, or is it typically like a bit more informal, just like, hey, I'm working on this, would you like to help me, sort of thing?
Yeah, more like the latter. Yeah, it's more like you want to. It'll be something that you would initiate. Yeah. Yeah. So you say you're doing existentialism. So I don't know. Say you're working on Kierkegaard, and you feel like you've got an awesome paper and a new way of understanding Kierkegaardian faith or something, and you say, hey, I want to work with you, Professor Murray or whoever, and do an independent study, and then kind of take the reins yourself. Yeah, it's not going to be that there's something already set in place that requires you to do that or anything like that. It's your own initiative. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
But I will add this part in, though, David. It's not whenever I'm teaching a graduate seminar, there's a sense in which my eyes are open to term papers that I think are especially promising, because we try to encourage our students to go give their papers as presentations, whether at graduate conferences or other philosophy conferences. So most of us, when we're teaching graduate seminars, are looking at the term papers with that in mind. So more than once, I've thought I had a pretty good term paper and said, hey, I think this is the thing you should shop at a conference. And if you need me to go through it with you again, it needs to work. I'm happy to help you with that, but I think this is a thing that should go to the next level. Let's go give it a try and see if you can give it at the APA, or see if you can give it at this regional conference. That's a thing that's not an uncommon trajectory for papers.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. And I can vouch for that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Sure. Kyle.
Yeah. I don't really know how this works. I know in PhD programs, you get a stipend for being there in the program. For MA programs, is that a thing?
Good. This is the most painful part of the process, right? Is that it does cost money, and we wish it didn't. There are MA programs, Kyle, I won't lie to you. There are MA programs that will give you a stipend, and so it will keep you from going into debt for an MA. But we're not one of them. So we wish we were, and we're trying to find ways. What we do is we have grant monies that allow us to take down the costs to a certain degree. It's competitive, but almost everybody who comes in will be getting some grant money to go towards tuition, and from roughly $9,000 is kind of the top of that, and that's true. So I don't know, where else, did you apply to any other MA programs, Josh, before you came to us? Yeah. So there are some really high-powered MA programs, as Josh was mentioning, the other people who went to UCI. So like Georgia State has a really strong MA program. University of Houston has a very strong MA program. Northern Illinois University has a strong MA program. And I think all three of those, certainly Georgia State, you can, if you're one of their top students that they're bringing in, they will give you they will pay your tuition and give you a stipend. That's, I don't know, I think maybe they're up to $15,000 a year. Maybe it's 16, maybe it's more. Does that sound right, David? It sounds like you're shaking your head. Like maybe you've seen those numbers.
Yeah, I didn't apply, but because it was like too late. But
yeah,
I did see that.
See that, yeah. So programs like that, if we lose you to a program like that, by the way, it's like, great, good luck, because that means that, you got into a place where they're going to pay you to go to do your MA for 2 years. Love it. In our case, we don't have that kind of money. So there's still the tuition, and the best we can do is, it's competitive, but we give grants to bring the tuition down.
Gotcha. And I'm curious, are the grants on top of the scholarships that you possibly get as well, or is that?
That's what I mean by the grants, is the scholarships. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The only additional thing we have that I haven't mentioned, but is we'll have a certain number. There are debates about this, so I can't be sure what it will be for this fall, of what they're called GSAs, graduate student assistants. Is that what it is, Josh? Graduate student. Were you a GSA?
I don't think, it doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay, it must not have been yet.
Yeah.
So the GSA ships, I think, get you $13,000, but they come with a little expectation that you do some work for the program. So it's kind of like, there's maybe as much as 9,000 just in the scholarship money, but you could get to 13 with the GSA ship, but then you owe us a little administrative work. So that's the best we can do. And so you can see why, if someone comes to me and says, hey, I'd love to come to LMU, but I got in at Georgia State and they're going to pay me to go, I'm like, bye-bye, enjoy, do great work, we'll miss you, but that's what you should do, right? Don't go into debt with us if you can get your MA paid for, and you're happy to be in Atlanta or whatever, right? Yeah.
I'd rather not be in Atlanta. We'll say
So I'm saying that's the other thing. It's like Northern Illinois or overlooking the bluff. I mean, pros and cons, right? I suppose, right?
It's like the people that they go, oh, you can buy a home in Texas for like $400,000, and it's like 5 times the size of a home here. But
That's right.
What I always say is, well, you still have to live there. Like,
You will be in Texas. That's right. Which I'm sure is wonderful for a lot of people. But yeah, right. I hear you.
Not when you're up on top of LMU and you're looking out over, you can see the ocean on
It's
one
pretty
side.
nice.
It's absolutely beautiful. I was there on campus a few months ago during the summer, and
That's right. We were thinking we might find a way to kind of connect, but I think it didn't work out. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I didn't. I spoke to someone else. Grisis, was it? No, I don't know. I spoke to someone else, but
David Kovac. I think maybe David Kovac.
Kovac. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah. So
he's always around. So yeah.
yeah.
Any other things I can help with?
I don't want to put the cart before the horse and seem
Sure.
overzealous. but-
No. That's always a tricky thing, but go for it.
Yeah. Do you have any, expectation or idea of when applicants might hear back?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the final deadline is the 15th. We won't start looking at files carefully until then, but then it should go pretty quickly. I'm guessing that we should be able to start making our offers to people, within 2 weeks of that deadline, and then it'll be kind of rolling from there.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
And with that, when that comes out, will we know about like how much like tuition and all that, and that comes as like a package, right?
We try to do it that way. Sometimes we have to, in the, because you can see what's happening here is that we don't have a lot of money, but we're trying to use it well. So we're trying to how much can we give to this many people, right? And So there's a little bit of nuancing with that, but our plan is initially to try to make the offer with some funding attached to it right away. And then if we have to adjust it up later, we can, but we try to do that from the beginning.
Yeah, I wonder how many applicants applied this time around.
I haven't even, and so many come in late at the deadline, as some of you are probably on the, are you all applied already?
Yep.
Yeah. No, not Kellen, right? And I think I think I've gotten a note from Will before that he was. So we aren't going to even know what our numbers are probably going to be until after the 15th. That's why it's, I don't even really look until then.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
That's right. That's right. I know it's coming. Okay. What else you need? You need anything else? What do you think?
I thought it was pretty good and informative. Thanks for Josh for, tagging along.
Right. That was nice of him, right?
My pleasure. My pleasure.
He's got like a dissertation to work on, and yet nevertheless, here he is hanging out with us.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very noble of you.
Very noble. Very epistemically virtuous of you. And hey guys, do sincerely, some of you have already emailed me, but just make sure you know I'm totally available by email. Feel free to send any questions you got. If we didn't connect to them right now, don't hesitate to follow up and say, oh, I forgot about this thing I wanted to ask about. No hesitation. If you want to send me any notes about how Josh was terrible and annoying, feel free, send those. I won't tell him about that. I'll keep it just between us, but we can dog him behind his back. Do we say dogging anymore? Do we dog? Dogging. That feels old, right? We don't dog anybody anymore.
Not as a verb.
Right. Okay. Yeah, not as a verb.
Two
But we
dogs.
used to. Didn't we used to dog people?
What is that? Throw a hot dog at it? What is that?
No, that was. Come on, Emily, help me out. That was a one era's version of, dissing. Talking key on. What I don't know.
Dogging me out.
You're dogging me out. You're dogging me.
Oh.
This is when you see the age difference.
Come on now. Well, I'm not going to take that from you, Emily. Come on. I'm young and vibrant. I don't know what
You are.
Yes,
That's what
right.
working at colleges does. It keeps
Yes,
you young.
that's right. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody. Emily, I take it are there other things these folks could be going to? Do they need to tap out of, or they can?
Yes. So I actually wanted to go ahead. I'm going to put in the chat. If you want to visit campus, I know Kyle told you how beautiful LMU is.
That's right.
If you want to visit, you can fill out this form, and we do campus tours. On your campus tour, we also can coordinate with Dan and set up a meeting.
Absolutely.
Before or after your campus tour. So we
For sure.
are happy to do that for you. But then following this at 6 p.m., we have a financial aid session. At 6:30, we have our graduate students of LMU doing a current student panel. And then at 7, we have our international admission team doing a presentation for our international applicants. So that is what follows this presentation.
Love it. Yeah, especially since there were some financial aid questions. That might not be a bad one for folks to pay some attention to. Yeah.
Mhm.
Good. Okay.
Great.
All right. We all good?
We are all good. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.